You're obviously all as keen as I am to save our heritage. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Wendy Lietinna and I live at Bridport. You might have heard me on the radio. Some of you may know me. My history is that I spent 25 years in the public service and I spent 7 years with the Antarctic Division. I did 4 trips to Antarctica, taking expeditioners down and back, and actually got them back. When we came to Bridport to live, I joined the North East Tourist Association and I watched and participated in the development of the tourist product in the North East. When we were setting up our business, which was on our farm, and that was called the Flying Teapot, some of you may remember it, I'm a passionate believer in this community and what it's achieved in the past and what we can continue to do in the future. I believe in diversity and I don't believe that we should put all our eggs in one basket. I'm a casual golfer, I golf about once a year and I fully support the golf tourism. I ride bikes, not very far, but I support bike tourism. I've ridden on trains in Norway, Canada, Paris, London, Russia, Australia, New Zealand, and I know that this is a great way to add to our tourism product. I'll just say that we're not here again to have a debate about rail versus bikes. We're here to have the community consultation that did not take place over the conversion of the existing railway between Scottsdale and Coldwater Creek into a bike path. Fortunately, there has been a stay of execution. The state government is wholly funding a review into the viability of a tourist and heritage rail operation. And the reason they're doing that is so that there is a totally independent review. Chris will later show you, and Chris will later show you how community action and volunteers made this happen at Yarradeen in Victoria. So we're looking at the long-term viability for the North East in indirect and indirect job creation. This is a user-paid venture with funds being generated for maintenance and eventually paid employment. Associated spin-offs for those enterprising people within our community is unlimited. There will be an opportunity for questions and answers, so if you wouldn't mind just hearing our presentations first, because that may help to answer some of the questions for you. I'll now pass over to Stuart Bryce. Now, Stuart is the president of NERAP, that is the North East Residents and Farmers Association, and he will give you a brief outline as to about how this whole project to save our North East Rail came about. So, I'll just pass over to Stuart.
I got interested in all this when I think I had a certain farmer, I know he's here tonight, Peter Arnold, who approached me. It was after there was a couple of meetings in Lilydale regarding the rail trail. He was quite concerned about it. He spoke to me about it, and that was before the budget came out on the 12th of May 2015, and we took action almost straight away. We've got a membership of close to 300 now. I was just looking through the books before I came here. Members of North East Residents and Farmers. People are angry about the cycle trail replacing the railway. Basically, the NERAP position is we don't want bikes on that railway. Now, we've been fortunate enough to be compounded by as a great force multiplier with what is now the Launceston North East Railway, because that's having more traction than getting the politicians interested in what farmers' beats are all about. And they've got a number of beats, and I'll come to that. But 12th of May was the budget. On the 14th of May, I had a face-to-face facilitated meeting with Sarah Hurst, who's the president of the Rail Trail Board. And we sat down, and the very first question to me was, why are you opposing the rail trail? And I said very simply, because of all the people that you left behind, that you didn't consult with, that you never asked about whether or not they were okay about bicycles dividing their land or coming on the border of their land. At this point, of course, early in the piece, we realised that there was a possibility that we could link the Heritage Railway Brown, who's here tonight, taken off his dirty jacket. Looks like he crawled out from under a railway engine. He turned up at one of our meetings because he heard what we were doing, and that was the start of the union between us and the railway people. And of course, I approached my farmers and said, well, if the trains came back, is that a problem? And they said, well, no, the trains were there before we were there in most cases, so in the fourth and fifth generation. A lot of the people along that line, some of you might even be here at this meeting, your grandparents, your grandfather built that railway line. You know, and that's significant to these people. It's part of history. It was a mind-breaking decision to build a railway line into the northeast of Tasmania. That was built only 19 years after the first Trans-US railway was built. And when you consider the terrain that railway line goes through, it was really quite an incredible exercise in engineering. Now, the cycle lobby is extremely powerful in Australia, and in Tasmania huge amounts of money have been allocated to bike trails. None coming from the cyclists themselves, not a cent. They come from the ratepayers of Dorset, they come from the state government, and they come from the federal government. They're the people with the longest pockets of anybody that I know. The contrast is that the railway is being completely funded by free enterprise. Completely funded by free enterprise. Now, we've got no problem if they want to put rails throughout the northeast, rail trails throughout the northeast, but there's no reason why we can't put cyclists on trains. Trains can carry cyclists, so we can say cyclists railways can train cyclists. I think we can. What we do have a problem is removing the existing railway, which is 95% fit for purpose. We've had funded by one of our members a $10,000 survey by an independent inspector of the railway lines, and 95% of those lines are seen fit for purpose. Now, if that's the case, then the railway itself, where it is, has a value of over $40 million. Now, would we pull that up to replace it with a $5 billion cycle trail, which doesn't have borders on it, which is only 2 metres wide, which is 0.4 of a metre less than the minimum recommended standard, that's going to have equine traffic on it as well, which is going to be an absolute disaster, that it's crushed blue metal, which can't carry a road bike anyway? Is this a good idea?
So we've got lots of people who are willing to help, from ex-drivers to present drivers to diesel mechanics, myself as an electrician, the gangers and stuff, and there's a couple in the room that kick around that were willing to help us. So we've already got brought for us a rail car and a trailer. We've got donated 2 locomotives. We've got a lot of other railways items, and also we've just started approaching Tattle Rail about getting a heap of steel sleepers and stuff to replace the ones on the line, and rails and stuff to build yards and stuff that we'll need along the line. So, and we've obviously got donations of cartage from local members at Lietinna, so we already had 1,000 tonnes cartage donated to us already, and storage for that until we get the line itself. So obviously we're not the only project like this in the States. There's another one, Derwent Valley, I don't know if you know about it, and their council is backing them to the point they are signing a lease for them with the government. So obviously they'll establish down Hobart, and they'll get there. Their mayor is attending our next meeting on June the 13th in Launceston.
Just a little bit about what Brett and his gang are doing. They started out with a railway that was far worse than what you've got here in Dorset. I think they said they had something like 300 or 400 pine trees that were growing up in amongst the tracks and so forth. Brett and his gang have put together a very thorough community engagement process, and everything that they're doing there has been done voluntarily. As you can see, in Victoria, 750,000 passengers a year are travelling on the Tourist and Heritage Rail network that they've got over there. I think there's about 20 different railways that they've got. In Tasmania, we have 8 operating Tourist and Heritage Railways. I'm actually chairman for the Redwater Creek Steam and Heritage Society, which operates at Sheffield. We run the Steam Fest each year. This is a pretty big project, the North East Line, I must admit, 63 kilometres, but it's a fantastic one, and it's, I firmly believe that you as a community can achieve this, particularly with the amount of support that I've seen from this community. So we mentioned the rail car that Paul Cabows has actually purchased for this project, and that's just a few shots of the insides of that. So support for the line, and this is some of you will have seen this PowerPoint at Lietinna in fact, but it's good to just go over it. So we've got nuts and bolts Taz, which is Paul Cabauza and Erica. Bridgestone Lavender Estate, they've actually put up that they will look after the maintenance on one of the railway carriages, as long as they can deck it out as probably the bear car or something, I think. Or a purple. Things you do to get these projects over the line. So Providence Vineyards, NERAF, the Arnolds, I think Clinton mentioned that Lee's offered to transport 1,000 tonne of sleepers from the main line. So how can you help? Become a member and register your skills. So I think Helen at the back has the membership forms, and also there's a skills register there that we're hoping by putting that in front of the various people that are making decisions about the line, this is how much the community is actually prepared to assist and make it happen. So we're hoping that that impresses them. I think there's 40. What are you up to, Helen?
About 60 at the moment.
60 people on there, yeah.
And that's before tonight.
Before tonight.
And we don't need just skill, we need painters, we need sweepers, we need anything.
Yeah. So Launceston and North East Railway have commissioned this document. It's a very capable organisation with a clear plan, tangible support and substantial rail assets in hand. And unlike the rail trail, does not require any public monies to bring its proposal to fruition. So this was some of the things that Sarah Lemsky, who happens to be on Tourism North Tasmania, who originally were the people who pushed for the rail trail. She's found it quite interesting that they haven't looked at the rail project as closely because they're locked into their slant on the world, and it's going to be a bit of a battle to turn them around. So another key point here, a signature tourist rail experience has a greater capacity than the rail trail to enhance regional economic activity through packaging with complementary products, for example the vineyards, Bridgestone Lavender Farm, and developing a diverse and exciting range of rail-based product offerings, all of which has a significant multiplier effect. So with cyclists that utilise the rail trail, they can actually go and do that without spending anything. Fill up their water bottles at the local shops and so forth. There's been varying talks about what the track condition is. Some people will say it's got to spend 30 million to upgrade it. I'm telling you that 95% of that track is fit for purpose to run a train on tomorrow. And there's minor maintenance required for the remaining 5%. The bridges are predominantly in good condition. Wayne actually walked the 10 kilometres from Caroola to Lilydale and advised that there's about 50 sleepers there that would need to be replaced before you could run a freight train over that. So that's quite a minor amount of work for a line of 10 kilometres in length. I'm sure Brett Whelan would like to ship it over to Victoria. So bridges are always a major issue. I think the Yarra Valley Railway had 12 bridges to do for their $20 million, which they've then pulled back to $4 million. We only have one, I think, at Lietinna, which needs complete rebuild. The rest actually just need the deck replacing with transom tops, sleepers, so that you could get the rail working back over again. And we've had community support in terms of concrete, timber, and so forth to actually do some of those replacement projects. So staging for the line, we're talking about Caroola to Lilydale Falls as stage 1. Then mainly because the Caroola trestle has a reasonable amount of work to replace the deck on it. Once that's done, we'd complete stage 2, which is Caroola to Turner's Marsh and Coldwater Creek, to maintain the connection back to the Tasrail network. Stage 3 would be Lilydale Falls to Lietinna via the Lietinna Vineyards. So I mentioned there's a major bridge at Lietinna that needs some work on it. Once that's done, the final stage would be Lietinna through to Scottsdale. So there'd be no reason why a committee in Scottsdale couldn't actually be taking on the Scottsdale leg and working its way back at the same time. So I mentioned that the rail and sleepers are available from Tasrail as part of their upgrade project. It's a fairly common thing to cascade rail and equipment from the mainline network back to the minor lines, and that's what we've already asked Tasrail to do and been given an affirmative to do that for a small amount of equipment. We still have to grow that to the larger project, which is all of the steel sleepers that they can spare pretty much. We need lots of community support, good people to operate trains, but we have the good people to operate trains, but we need management and support and a lot more manpower. So I'll just go back a bit.
Did anybody talk to the Mayor of Dorset?
How you going, Don?
Is there any councillors here from Scottsdale tonight?
There are some, but we'll get to that later, Don. This is some of the listing that we're now starting to get together of the volunteers that are prepared to assist. You start to see the qualifications of people that are being involved. We've also looked at the value of contributions that people are pledging to make, and they're adding up at this stage to 550,000. Just on some quick sums that we're looking at in terms of pledges. So the things that we've already got: 2 locomotives, 2 guards vans, a single man camp car, 2 gang motors, Suzuki track inspection, high rail vehicle. What else have we got? A couple of sets of points and about 200 metres of track sitting down at Lietinna's place ready to be put into action. So all up, I think the pledge has worked out to around 1.3 million. So it's a substantial amount of...
It's actually gone up to 1.42.
1.42. So, the conclusion once again from here: become a member of Launceston and North East Railway Group and show your support. See Helen up the back. Register your skills and also what sort of volunteer work you think that you might be able to contribute. Any pledges willingly accepted up the back. What can we raise it to tonight, Helen?
Oh, sky's the limit.
Attend the meetings. So our next meeting down here is the 13th of June at 6 p.m. at the Inveresk Lecture Theatre, the Rory Spence Lecture Theatre, which is where the Architects Building is. Got a few more seats there, so you don't have to stand.
And also, if you've got Facebook, we have a pretty active Facebook page. Keep everyone updated there as well.
So I just search for Launceston
North East Railway should pop up there with our logo.
And
not the man, but anyway.
Yeah, talk to your friends about what we're trying to achieve here. So I think without much further ado, we'll call for questions.
So, has anybody got any questions? Yes.
Have you got any rough idea of the cost for a trip?
It'd be cheap as we possibly can for a base one, but again, it'll step up in stages. But it doesn't necessarily depend on that, because they say that railway's unsuccessful. What they go on for next year, Chris? Was it 40,000 passengers down there or something like that?
Yeah.
And they charge, I think, what was it,
$100.
$170 something per person. So obviously people pay to do that.
I think the Don Railway is charging $20 an hour.
Yeah, Don River's $20 a person, so we'd probably be around the $30-40 mark for a very rough estimate. But it could be cheaper, could be more, but that's the base that we're aiming for.
And initially we're going to start running...
So obviously our initial trips will be a shorter, cheaper price for the tickets again, but it will vary on how many people have. We'll obviously run a Saturday once a week, so that could change to a weekday running or Saturday, Sunday running. It also depends how many people come on the train.
Bruce Benson. Bruce? And Bruce actually has walked the whole rail. Is that right? And Bruce is 82?
I'm an 83-year-old pensioner. Last year I walked from Scottsdale to recently on the line. Not in mundane, but in serious. And my opinion was that it would cost much more to destroy the line than it would to repair it.
Good on you. Wow. That's
So yeah, out of them you might get half of them that are only a passive level crossing needing signage only, and then the others might need active level crossing warning lights. The track circuitry is still in there. Clinton's a qualified electrician.
Yeah, so there's 10 that had lights on it before line closed, and they'll probably resume that. There might be 1 or 2 that might need any more because our trains are going to be lesser weight and stuff like that, but that'll come down to our SMS and the fellow right that will decide that along with the rail regulator. But yes, as Chris said, for example, for the moment there's already 2 electricians on the board, another one sitting down there, and also there's 2 of my former TAFE teachers have signed up as members. So, and I think they're your former TAFE teachers too, Ralph. So there's 4 electricians involved in society as it is, and they're quite knowledgeable. So that's the cost of installing them is going to come right down from what the mayor quoted as it is. But as we said, it's going to be all assessed, and it might be assessed that we don't need 10 sets of lights, and also we've got donated lights from Bellarine. Chris mentioned they've got sets of lights from Victorian Railways that we can use, and that's again a cost come down and that sort of stuff. So the cost that the mayor stated was completely wrong.
I'd just like to stand up and say I'm a ratepayer in the Dorset Council, and I would not like to put any money into a bike trail. I prefer to go to a heritage railway.
Would you like to join our committee? Would you like to join our committee? One thing I think that we need, yeah, a show of hands on that one. One thing that you can do as people power is to start making the Launceston Council aware of what we're wanting here in the northeast, because the rail goes 3/4 of the way into Launceston municipality, and at this stage Launceston Council contributed $3,000 towards the grant application and the survey for the grant application. That's what I understand. So it's really up to us again, and we're going to have a meeting in Launceston on the 13th of June, and that's being held at Inverness, and that is to inform the Launceston public about what's going on.
Before we go any further, there's about 150 people in this room. I count twice, and it comes up to pretty close to 150. Probably be easier if we did it this way. Can I have a show of hands of people who support the cycle path? I have 2 people in support of the cycle path. Thank you. Oh, is that cycle path too?
I was initially when I didn't realise that there was another viable option, and each of you speakers has thanked us for coming along tonight. I'd just like to thank each of you for working away like little beavers in the background and gathering all this information and presenting it so professionally and responsibly so that we can feel very assured that yes, you are organised and we know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
That's okay. I am a Dorset ratepayer, and I've been along this journey with all these people for a bit over 2 years now. I hope that more Dorset people will be involved. 2 things go on here. One is the Dorset ratepayers are getting run over. We're going to be paying for this for a long time. 2, the Lilydale ratepayers that pay into the Launceston City Council will not get a say on what happens on Dorset Council, because they don't get to vote on it. They're getting told what's going to happen in their area, but they don't get a chance to vote on who our councillors are. So there's two lots of people, and they're all in this room. We're all getting done over. One other thing, the bike track finishes at Coldwater Creek. Does anyone know where that is? It does not go to Launceston, and the mayor will tell you himself, will never go to Launceston. So the thought of a bike track from Scottsdale to Launceston is a furphy. It doesn't happen. Coldwater Creek's the end of it, and when you fellas find out where that is, so how you go getting there.
For those who don't know, it's if you've ever been to Dilston and look away from the Tame River, there's a mountain there. It's on top of that. Can't be here by road.
Who's going right there?
For those who don't know me, I'm Randall Bosley. I'm a business owner in Scottsdale. But I also support any other opportunity to bring business into the Scottsdale and Dorset area. I believe that every revenue stream we can possibly get into a community can only enhance a community, only bring wealth into the community, only help develop the community, and this proposal that you put up, I think it's brilliant.
Thank you.
I've just got one consideration. I'm not biased or anything, but I just wonder about the age group. To me, the councils and all are looking at youth. I've been a bushwalker all my life, but I'm 86 now, going 87 soon, and I mightn't be able to ride a bike now, and it won't be long I'll be able to drive a car.
Be able to ride the
So, why can't we take it to the retirees when we can have a trip on the train into town?
Exactly.
And I've been up to Dennis and Gordon's as a kid, and those picnics, and they were lovely. And there's all those things to consider. Don't let's be biased and look after one category of people, of not being grudgingly against it, but let's consider us older fellas to keep us out of mischief.
I think we'll wind up, but these guys are still here for you to talk to, and the people in the hall, thank you very much, Sue and Shirley and Lindsay. They've been down here setting all this up, but they've got tea and coffee out there too. See, that's community spirit for you. We can't keep